In today's video, I'll be sharing some DIY Dollar Tree high-end Christmas ornaments. Welcome to CreArtive by Nature, DIY and Decor. My name is Donna. So for our first ornament, I'll be using this reindeer I picked up from Dollar Tree last year. They carry these from year to year. I am just removing the embellishments and the antlers, and I'm going to just leave the glitter as is. We're going to be covering this up with some espresso brown craft paint along with smoke gray. So I'll be giving this deer one coat of my craft paint. It depends on what type of craft paint you are using. You could spray paint this or cover this up with chalk paint, but I didn't have any brown in chalk paint. Now I'm just adding some detail with the smoke gray. I'm trying to create the look of fur like a real deer. So I'm just gently going over it, creating some streak marks while the brown is still wet. Once you have the look you like, you can allow it to dry well. Once dry, you could leave your deer as is, but I would give it a clear coat of some matte varnish. But I wanted to give mine a high-end look, so I'm giving this a coat of some ultra glitter paint in champagne color, and this is by Decor. Now I love to use Decor craft paints, so I am going to have a list for you in my Amazon favorites store, so you can go check it out if you can't find it in your local area. I just need to give the deer one coat. Once dry, you can start to embellish. So you can use pip berries, faux garland. I'm actually going to use these real branches for the antlers. So I'm going to use the holes that are already there, but I need to also create a hanger. So I am going to be placing the antlers in the back hole, and I had to just make that a little bit bigger, but I do end up changing it out, and I will be showing that to you here in a bit. I'm going to first create a faux wreath to go around the reindeer's neck. I double up on this pipe cleaner faux garland piece that I had. I picked this up at a local dollar store. I have seen something similar in Michael's. So you'll just have to check out what you can find around at your craft stores or dollar stores. So I'm just bending it to form the shape, and then I will glue it into place. Now I'm going to create my ornament hanger by using this jute twine that I picked up from Michael's last year on clearance. I'm just going to cut a piece off, and it does have a little strand of some gold thread throughout it. So I am just going to tape that off, and then I am going to add some glue to our second hole and push that tape end into place. So at this point, I'll be honest, I didn't actually really like where the hanger was, so I do end up changing that. But I add a little bow first to our wreath, and I decorate that. So I'm just using a wire just to create a simple bow, and then I will glue that into place. So now I'm adding a little decorative element. I'm adding these pretty gold mini bells. You could add berries or some flowers or instead, but I wanted to keep with a neutral tone, so I'm just going with the gold bells. So this is when I decided to switch out our antlers and hanger. So I just pulled both of them out, and I know that some of the paint had lifted, but it doesn't end up showing in the end. So now I am going to add the ornament hanger back by the ears instead and add the antlers at the front. It looked a little bit more balanced by doing that. And then it's going to be ready to hang on our tree. I really love to mix styles, and I think rustic and elegance look so high-end together. I love how this deer turned out. So Dollar Tree has had these trailer ornaments for a couple of years now, and I have been wanting to work with these for a while. So I'm gonna make them over, but first you need to give these a coat of gesso. Gesso is a primer. I discovered that red paint seep through any paint that you put over top, so you want to seal that up. So I end up giving this 1 to 2 coats of our gesso, and that will help to prevent that red paint from seeping through. I'll have a link in my Amazon favorites for that one as well. The gesso is all dry now, and I am going to give it a coat of chalk paint. I am going to be using the primitive color just to show you, but I also use Whisper and Leaf Green as well. So I'll be showing you those colors in a minute here, but you'll want to give your trailer 2 to 3 coats depending on the color you use. So our trailers are all nice and dry, and I love how they look. I love these vintage colors. Now I am going to give it that high-end pop and add some ice crystal ultrafine glitter paint, again from Decor. This is one of my favorite glitter paints. It gives such a beautiful iridescent shine that I really love for the Christmas season. I'll be giving each trailer 2 coats of the glitter paint. You can see the beautiful shimmer that the glitter gives off. It shines with the lights on the tree so beautifully. Now it's time to decorate our little trailers. I am first going to be using this beautiful lace as the ornament hanger. I am keeping with that vintage feel, so I just tie a basic knot. And now I decided to decorate the top. I am using this glitter frosted greenery that I picked up from Dollar Tree. They have this in again this year. It is so beautiful. And I'm just going to snip it down and glue them in place in around the ornament topper. So now I'm going in again with some mini bells. I'm using the silver, and I really like these. There's 2 different sizes. Again, you could use some florals, or you could also use some berries. Use whatever decorative elements you like for your Christmas decor. I think these turned out so cute. Definitely vintage inspired. So for our next ornament, I'm using these twig balls that are white with iridescent glitter. I'm just going to be using one, and this is the first time I've seen them at Dollar Tree. But first I want to create some leaves out of this birch bark. So if you've been following me for a while, you will know how much I love to forage for nature items that I could use in my crafts, and I especially love to use birch bark. So I'm just cutting out some basic leaf shapes, and I am going to be cutting out a total of 3. Once you have your leaves all cut out of your bark, you can then give them the high-end look of the ice crystal fine glitter paint. Now you could just leave your leaves just natural, that's completely totally fine, but I just really love this glitter paint, so I'm going to give it 2 to 3 coats both on the top and underneath the leaves. So our leaves are all nice and dry, and now it's time to assemble our ornament. So I'm going to be using these frosted glitter pine cones I picked up from Dollar Tree, and just some greenery I had in my stash, and along with some twine. This twine is iridescent, and I'm going to use it as my ornament hook. So I'm just finding the appropriate place for me to attach it, and then I will tie it into place. Now I'm just cutting off some of the smaller pine cones off of this garland. And then I'm going to start gluing all our pieces together. So I am just kind of playing around with placement. This part is kind of up to you how you want to do it. I'm gluing in some greenery and then I'll add some leaves. And you can always pull these things off if you don't like the placement of things, because I do end up doing that a few times. But just have fun with this. And again, you could decorate this any way you'd like. You could add, again, some flowers or some berries, but I'm just going for a really beautiful, natural and nature-inspired high-end look. So I'm really loving how this is looking so far. Now it's time to add some pine cones. I'm just gonna go with 3. And then I decided to add some silver bells. I don't know why, I'm just really enjoying adding these little bells to my projects. And I add 2 different sizes for a total of 6 bells. I am really loving how this ornament has come together, and it is all ready to hang on your tree. It definitely has a lot more of a high-end look now, especially for that beautiful nature-inspired look that I absolutely love. All right, so now I'm going to be making over this deer mount. Dollar Tree has been carrying this for several years now, and I'm just removing the embellishments, and the glitter fallout on these are horrible, but I knew I could cover this up with my primitive chalk paint, and that will help to seal it all in. So I give this actually just 1 coat of our chalk paint. I had really, really good coverage, and then I allow it to dry well. The deer mount is all nice and dry, and now it's time for that high-end look. I am going to be using champagne gold metallic paint from Decor. I love this champagne gold. It is a beautiful, beautiful gold, and it gives such an elegant high-end look. Now, it is a thinner paint, so that is why I needed to have the base coat in my chalk paint. So I'm just going to give 1 coat. So now I'm going to create a backing for our deer mount. I am just going to roughly just measure out where I want to cut. I'm going to be creating kind of an oval round shape. You could use scrapbook paper, or you could just leave it as is, but of course, you know me, I love to use natural elements. So I'm just using my scissors to cut my shape out, and then I'll be attaching everything together. Before we put everything together, I decided to give our birch bark a coat of this champagne gold ultrafine glitter paint, and I just give 1 coat and then allow it to dry well. All right, now it's time to assemble it all together. So I have got our faux garland. I'm going to apply some around the neck, and I find that I have to double this up. It just gives it a nice full look. I'll twist the 2 pieces together, and I'm also going to be using some metallic pine cones that I again picked up from Dollar Tree. So first I am going to add some glue, bend and shape our garland into place and continue to glue it and hold till set. So now I am going to generously apply some glue to the back side of our ornament and put it into place on our birch bark piece. Press it down and hold till set. Here you can see I already added our pine cones and I went for the smaller ones, and now I'm just adding a few little pieces and adding them into the pine cones. You don't have to do this part, this is optional. Instead of the pine cones, you can use some other embellishments, but I just wanted to keep this part nice and simple. I found this beautiful champagne gold wire at Dollar Tree, and I knew it would work really well to create some ornament hangers. So I'm just putting that onto the rung and I just kind of tie it on like a twist tie. And then I will actually end up tying a knot because this wire is fairly thin. And I'll add it just a little dab of hot glue just to help hold the wire into place on the ornament. And now this ornament is ready to be hung on the tree. Simple, rustic, and elegant. Okay, so this is something new at Dollar Tree. They have these galvanized tin houses that hold candles, but I knew I could turn these into ornaments. So you're gonna need to hammer a hole into the top of the roof. Use a really sharp end nail and then a wood block and hammer a hole through the top. So I'm going to be using this wire again to create my ornament hook, and I'm just going to cut a piece down and then weave it into the hole. Once the wire is through, you're going to create a bit of a knot on the end. And then add a little dab of hot glue and pull this into place. The glue will help hold that ornament hook into place on the inside. So I've got this thin piece of cardboard. You could use chipboard as well. And I am going to use a pencil and trace around the houses. Now, you don't want to trace around the overhang of the roof line. The back side is just the basic shape, as you can see here. And then you'll be doing that for both, then cut them out. Now I'm going to be creating some bases. So this just is going to be some trial and error for you. It depends on how big of a base you want. So I'm going roughly 2 millimeters at the back side, and it's roughly 2 centimeters or so. The width is a total of 2.5 inches, and it is about 3.5 inches wide. So now I'm just going to cut that out with my scissors once I have the desired size and shape I like. So I have my bases for both houses and the backings for both houses as well. And I am going to be covering these pieces up with some scrapbook paper. So one of them, the galvanized one, I'm going to be using this sweater paper, and I'm just tracing around it, and then I'll cut it out. And then I'm going to be using some Oohoo glue and putting this into place. Oohoo glue is a great glue stick. I really like it. And you'll just want to generously apply the glue. You could use some wet glue as well. I'll put my scrapbook paper into place, and then I like to use a bone folder to smooth it out well. If there's any excess overhang, just use your scissors to trim that off. Use any scrapbook paper you have in your stash. I am now going to use this iridescent polka dot paper, and that is going to go on the inside of our houses. And I'm hoping that'll be a little bit of a reflection because we are going to be putting some lights inside. So I'm just tracing around our cardboard piece again, and again, cut it out, use some glue, and apply our paper. I do the same for the other house piece, but I use a different pattern for that one. It is a holly pattern. It is really, really pretty. Again, just use whatever scrapbook paper you have in your stash. For our bases, I just use some regular cardstock to cover that up in the craft paper. And now I'm just measuring to make sure our pieces fit and they work really well. I'm also trying to measure the middle of our house as I want to punch a hole in this back panel. So I'm just going to roughly guess where the middle is and mark it with a pencil on both pieces. So this is a big chomper from We Are Memory Keepers, and I'm punching a hole through our cardboard pieces. Again, I'll have a link for this in my Amazon favorites store. And this will give us a spot to put a light. Now, you know how we've got our mini lights? You can just make that hole a little bit bigger, and then it'll be perfect size to put a mini light. All right, so now it's time to assemble it. I'm going to just mark out the base on our little panel. I want to make sure that I have enough room to support our back panel, as you can see here. That will just help to secure it into place. So I'm just marking with a pencil where our back side will be and the front side. And in between those lines, I am going to generously apply some hot glue. I'm going to put our house into place and allow the glue to set. So now it's time to attach our back panel. You're going to apply some glue to the edge of the panel and then quickly put the piece into place on the back of our houses. Now I'm going to run a bead of hot glue at the back side of the house, wait a few moments, then I'll run my finger along the edge and that will seal it off. You could definitely use a finger protector if you're concerned, but my glue gun is a lower temp glue gun, so I did not burn myself. Here I am just cutting off any of the excess paper, and now it's time to embellish. So this is where you can have a lot of fun. You could use figurines, mini trees, anything that you have in your stash. I cut down some little branches and I'm going to create a stack of logs on the front of this particular house. So I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue and then pressing the little branches into place. And I'll be adding hot glue and stacking the logs as I go along. Now I've dove into my stash of mini trees. This particular one I got from a store called Dollarama, but you can pick these up at Michael's, any dollar store, and I even have them in my Amazon store as well. So I just added hot glue and put them into place. Now Dollar Tree has been carrying these little mini trees for a couple of years now, and I love them. They are so cute, especially for small projects like this. So for this house, I decided that I wanted just a little miniature wreath. So I'm just bending this faux garland into a circle, just big enough to fit around the star. Again, I'm using hot glue to put this into place, and I'm going to put where the two ends meet at the bottom right there. And I'm going to be covering that up with some little mini silver bells. You could use berries or a bow as well, but I just wanted to keep this simple. So I have this faux snow, and I like to use that in different projects. So I'm just using some hot glue and I'm pressing the snow into place and removing the excess. I'm not going to completely cover the base with the snow. I'm just adding it here and there just to give it a bit of interest. So this next part is optional, but I just wanted to finish the edge of our base. So I'm just using this faux garland. It's kind of like a pipe cleaner. You could definitely skip this. I just didn't like the raw edge of the cardboard showing. So I'm just gonna add this a little bit. This gives it an extra high-end look if you can finish your edges off properly. So I just cover each side. Now I'm going to decorate the greenhouse, and this one I am actually going to keep really simple by just adding some mini trees, some faux snow, finish it off with the garland at the base, and then it will be ready to hang on the tree. I have to say, Dollar Tree really kicked it out of the park with these galvanized houses. And I was so excited to turn them into ornaments. Doesn't this look like something that you would get at a high-end store? The light inside glows so beautifully. I love how these turned out. So as always, I would absolutely love to know which your favorite ornament is by leaving me a comment down below. I truly appreciate each and every one of you being here. I love to craft for Christmas, and I'm so thankful that you enjoy it too. I want to thank you all so much for being here. Here's some more Christmas ornament inspiration for you to see. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.